Thank you, Eric, and let me say I feel quite humbled to be here in such esteemed company in terms of some of the companies that have presented today. I think it's a fantastic format, and as Eric mentioned, I've come all the way from Melbourne, Australia, which is about a 19-hour flight. It's a long way away, but it's a beautiful place to live. Fortunately, we're setting up an office in the US, so hopefully I won't have to do too much flying from here on in. What I want to talk to you today is about our company, Emue Technologies. We're predominantly in the card not present or remote payment authentication space. What does that mean? What we do is we make transactions secure over the internet, telephone banking, web-based banking, and also consumer e-commerce purchases. We've predominantly been working over the last couple of years with Visa in Europe, where we formally launched our product in July. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the demonstration of our product. I should have had a manicure before this, but anyway. What we have here is a credit card. So it's a completely functional payment card. This one is issued by Corner Banker in Switzerland. As you saw then, I've just activated the card and it has a display on it. I'm able to authenticate using the keypad on the card. There is a battery embedded in the card. There's a keypad, as I mentioned. We have a microprocessor that holds our technology on it, and the display, which is an e-ink display, the same display that you find in the Kindles. What we're able to do with this particular product is we're able to embed up to 10 different authentication capabilities, and that's quite a key component to the solution. So as a customer, I can carry something that conveniently fits in my wallet, but I can use to authenticate across all remote channels that I deal with in the bank. So let's talk about some of those remote channels that I deal with. This card has been loaded with, as you can see, some of the text is a little bit small, but up to 6 different authentication modes. And I'll just walk you through a couple of those authentication modes. So what I do is I press the on button to select the mode for authentication. In this case, let's take Dynamic CVV, which is mode 0. What I'm asked to do here is simply enter my PIN. Type my PIN in, a very inventive 1234. The screen refreshes and I have a dynamic CVV code. So that's a security code that you're asked to enter as part of your online transaction, an e-commerce website. Same process as before. You enter your credit card details, but rather than giving that static number away, this is typically printed on your card, you're generating a dynamic number each time. So that means if your card details are lost or stolen, you can't be... a fraudulent event can't be perpetrated against you because the fraudster doesn't have access to the next dynamic CVV as part of the process. That's just one capability. Let's talk about online banking. So in online banking terms, what I can provide is, at a very simple level, a PIN-based OTP. So again, I enter my PIN. It's quite important that the actual PIN I'm entering is not actually stored on the card. It's simply an input to the variable that is outputted on the screen. And that's important from a security perspective because if my card is stolen, someone tries to perpetrate an offline attack on my card, they can't get anything. There's no information that's valuable. That PIN is validated by the server at the other end, and if it's the correct PIN, it generates the correct number, and I'm validated for online access. So that's the online channel. Let's talk about the telephone channel. One of the problems I have if my bank calls me, say HSBC calls me and says, Brendan, I just want to check some transactions on your account. At this point in time, I have no idea that the other person at the end of the line, although they say they're from HSBC, are actually from HSBC. I have no way of identifying them. What we've built into this solution is the capability, if I go into mode 8, to identify the remote party. So in this case, the operator reads out to me a series of digits over the phone, indicating that she's just validating that she is legitimately from HSBC. Let's say that's the number she gives me. I press OK, that's the wrong number. Immediately, I'm not able to go any further in this conversation. So I'm stopped in my tracks right there. I'm suspicious that the person calling me is a fraudster, just masquerading as a bank, trying to solicit information from me, which is a major concern in the fraud world. If that number she'd given me was correct, I would have been prompted to enter my PIN. I then would have validated myself back to the bank. It's something we call reciprocal authentication. So already I've covered 3 separate channels, all in the one card. The other function that we can do from an online banking perspective is transaction signing. So this is mode 9. What I'm able to do here is I'm able to take components of a transaction that I'm sending over the internet. For instance, it may be the last 4 digits of the account number. I enter the amount I want to transfer. And again, I enter my PIN. And the number is refreshed. So that's what we call a digital signature. So those that are familiar with the fraud called man-in-the-middle or man-in-the-browser fraud, which can be perpetrated simply using a one-time passcode, it can't be perpetrated if I use this particular signing technique. Because what I'm doing is I'm embedding in this code certain elements of the transaction that the bank unravels at the other end, checks with the transaction details, and enables them to clear the transaction without anyone changing the details in the browser or in any other form of network attack. So I've just demonstrated some of the capabilities of the card. Let's talk a little bit about the proposition. So the proposition to the customer. The proposition to the customer is that this is a secure and easy to use device, but it's also convenient. It fits in my wallet. I can use it for all forms of interaction with my bank remotely. So there's a key element to the proposition for the customer. From a banking or financial services perspective, what I can provide is not only a technology that can secure my customers, a technology that can consolidate my authentication across different platforms, those remote channels that I spoke about, but something that differentiates me from a brand. And it's a bit crazy for a technology guy to be talking about brand differentiation, but a lot of the banks that are using this product in Europe specifically focus on that brand differentiator as a particular product, whether it's heavy internet users, then being able to extend that to a top-of-wallet scenario.